Joni and Jerry and the local man here was involved in the campaign in relation to what you were speaking about, the star ratings against ICBF and the abuse of the star ratings, and which acted as a barrier to prevent suckler farmers from entry to what's known as the SCEP scheme, and then they had the beef welfare scheme that was given a derisory payment because most of the costs of IBR testing made it prohibitive. It wasn't worth joining. But in relation to the SCEP scheme, well, as you said, only 30% farmers joined, and it was farmers that were on low entitlements and that wanted the money that joined. But the problem is that there's a clawback mechanism there. It's a 5-6 year scheme, and if you falter and after it's linked to Board BA quality assurance as well. If you falter after the second year, you have to pay back the money, and it's the farmers that can least afford to pay it back that have to pay it back. Look, you know this, ladies and gentlemen, better than I do, because I'm sure some of you joined the scheme, and some of you studied the scheme and considered joining it and wanted to join it, but didn't because it was prohibitive, because it wasn't worthwhile. But it was deliberately prohibitive because the Minister McConnell wanted to, as Jerry Kennellan rightly said, he wanted to say that we're going to deliver. That was in the Fianna Fáil manifesto. Fianna Fáil is great at these manifestos, delivered for €200 per cow. But we delivered the €200 per cow, he said. We put together what the SCEP is worth and what the beef welfare scheme is worth for those. But he didn't talk about the restrictions and the clawback and the barrier and that prevented people, most suckler farmers, from joining it. And the reason for that is he didn't want to draw down all that money. He wanted to fulfil Fianna Fáil's pre-general election promise, but on paper, but in reality, to renege on that and to keep the money, not use that money for to go to the agricultural sector. And we know the absolute abject squandering of money, public money at the moment. We could spend all night talking about how public monies have been spent. There's no scarcity of monies when it comes to refugees, indeed, and mass immigration in this country, and shutting down our hotel sector, the government committed itself to a cull of 200,000 dairy cows over 3 years. At the same time, bringing in 200,000 immigrants. At the same time, which counters all that, and at the same time, the Dublin Airport Authority increasing their passenger numbers from 32 million to 42 million, not worried about emissions there, and the corporate data centres, the multinational data centres, that consume 18% of the energy grid, the electricity grid, have been allowed to, and Simon Covey, disgraced former Minister for Agriculture, who was responsible for the abolition of milk quotas and encouraged dairy expansion that's causing a lot of the problems we have today. He, as Enterprise Minister, was encouraging the foreign multinational companies to use more energy at a time, and at the same time, they got Bournemouth closed down Shannon Bridge and Lanesborough power stations and NP production. The decisions that this government are making for rural Ireland are absolutely outrageous, and just in relation to what we're hearing about tonight, that £300, it's very worrying. And everyone has to put their shoulder to the wheel and encourage the mart manager through ICOS to the marts get together, because as Jerry rightly says, if a mart shuts down in a town like Mountbellew, so you were saying there's 11 marts in County Galway. I was going through Lochray, Man Cross. I didn't get to the 11.
You got 10.
Yeah, 10, yeah. The second biggest county in the country. But if half of those marts shut down, then that has a huge knock-on effect for. What do you replace them with? A refugee centre? We are in a very, very bad place at the moment. and we need to reverse that. And as you're going the right way about lobbying and putting forward your case, doubling the ANC payments is very, very necessary. But I go even further than that. I think that we have to have a review of. I remember, Tony, you met the manager of Scotland recently, and Michael Fitzmaurice and Deputy Fitzmaurice. I heard him even on RT radio the day afterwards saying he met a group of farmers and said they were unrealistic in what they were demanding. They were demanding that the increases in ANC payments and improvements in a couple of payments for farmers. He said the money isn't there because, unfortunately, he said he supports that, but the budget is fixed, the cap is fixed in 2027. He's wrong there. He's wrong there. I'll tell you why he's wrong. Every cap is open to a review. And we have a great opportunity now with the European elections, because I'll tell you one thing, you're talking about most of these decisions that are coming, the EU Green Deal, and it's not just Eamon Ryan and the Green Party. If the Green Party were never in government, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and Sinn Féin, whoever be in government, were committed to sign up to this EU Green Deal to implement these green policies, climate policies. You see what we're talking about there? Reducing emissions by 90% up to 2040. But because of the farmers in Europe blocking up Berlin and blocking up dumping manure outside government buildings in Paris and whatever, they have excluded methane from that. And that's because of why? Pressure on the ground. Right. Pressure on the ground is what's needed. The farmers need to become more and more militant. But most of these decisions that are made in Brussels. And it's scandalous to see that the EU, the farm budget, is the same as it was back over 20 years ago. Now, when I was last May, like most farmers, when I was preparing my area-based payment and application for the 15th of May, and my total BIS, CRIS, ECO schemes, ANC, the whole lot together, 14,000. And the acre scheme as well, God help me, another 7,000, that's bringing me to 21. Back in 2005, when the single payment came in, and I'm only a very modest suckler sheep farmer, but my single farm payment was 17,500. I was getting over 3,500 disadvantaged payment, and I was getting. No, this is post decoupled. This is in the decoupled regime. So there was coupled payments gone at that stage, and then I was getting reps. That reps was abolished by Minister Brendan Smith, and that what you have there very important, the 15,000 reintroduction of the young farmer early installation scheme, 15,000. That was abolished as well. And why was that abolished? That was abolished to pay for the bailout of the banks that added 64 billion to the national debt. At the same time, the universal social charge was introduced at the same time, and was never, and that was again for to pay for the bank bailout. Now, all these years later, as I said to you, I'm only standing still without my reps payment. With everything, including acres now, and then you have the cost of production. You don't have to tell anyone inflation in the last 20 years. Inflation in the last couple of years, the cost of fertilizer has come back, the input costs have come back, price of oil has come back to a certain degree. If you take away carbon taxes and excise, but then because of government taxes, the price of oil is still pushing the cost of production up there. But the cost of production is actually outstripping the farm gate prices we're getting. And if you think about it, logically, lads, the subsidies that we're getting, the direct payments, and as Tony rightly said, we are actually net contributors. The Irish Exchequer now is a net contributor to the EU budget. Something that we are paying something like 2.8 billion a year, and we're getting back about 1.6. So we're actually paying in more than we're getting out. And then we have conditions. And yet, the situation regarding the paying in more to get less, and yet our aggregate payments are frozen. The direct payments, it's a disgrace and those direct payments, if you think about them logically, are actually subsidies to Larry Goodman and subsidies to the meat processors and the retail sector to keep to encourage busy farms, encourage suckler farmers to continue working hard and sometimes at a loss or a very low margin because they work for these payments at the end of the year. That's what the payments are about. The payments were supposed to be about supporting rural Ireland and supporting small farmers, but that's not the case. Because most farmers have average payments of less than €10,000, and that's €10,000 is nothing in today's world. And convergence, as you said, the convergence back to 65,000. That's the cap. That's the convergence. And what happened to what some of the bigger producers have done is they have multiple herd numbers and they just split their holdings and they're able to get around through creative accounting methods. They're able to get around that to draw down nearly as much as what they were getting in the first place. But here's the thing: everyone in this room that has a basic payment, the reference years are still included, the three same reference years: 2000 to 2002, including 2001, which was the foot and mouth year. So it's outrageous to think that we're 22 years since the end of the reference years, and they haven't updated the reference years, and they could have done that, and front loaded, and there is a within the current cap payment system, they're front loaded payment. We need a real front loaded payment to support suckler and sheep farmers, in addition to what you're looking for in relation to on that board. And as I said to you, we have an opportunity with the European elections, and as you know, I'm running the European elections and leader of the National Party. James Reynolds is my name, and I'm running in the European elections, and I'm running on that platform to save rural Ireland. And what we need to do, and one thing that if I was elected, I'd be aligned with the right group in the European Parliament, and it's the right group in the European Parliament that were behind the farmers in Berlin, and they were blocked up Berlin, and they're the ones that are going to have huge clout in the next European Parliament, huge clout, because it used to be the socialists in the European People's Party, the Fine Gael line, had a virtual monopoly and controlled everything in Brussels. Things are going to be different, and they are going to try and reverse and stand up to the European Green Deal, and then is the opportunity. The European elections present you with the opportunity to get someone in that's against the climate agenda, that's against the continual phasing out of agricultural supports and the phasing out of the cap, which is happening by stealth at the moment. And what you need is a strong voice to do that. And I hope that I'm in a position and I get support from farmers and rural people to do that and to be a voice for rural Ireland. Because God knows we need a voice. I know, I see Deputy Fitzmaurice, and he's a good man standing up for farmers and rural people in all Ireland. And there's fortunately too few people on that side of the house that stand up for, and they're not listened to by the political establishment. That's the problem. We're not being listened to. But we certainly need, and I concluded this, we certainly need to vast improvement in supports. The Kenneth derisory payments, that can't continue to go on. And just finally say, we're talking about the government are committed to a cull this 200,000 dairy cows. There's going to be a dairy subsidy scheme introduced for that to support, to compensate dairy farmers for exiting dairy, for culling, taking these 70,000 cows a year out of production. But Jerry made a great used a great stat there at the beginning of the meeting, and he talked about 1,000 suckler cows a week, 1,000 suckler cows a week essentially being taken out of the system. So we're catching up. What's happening, in my view, what's happening now is we have a green cull of the suckler herd, of the national suckler herd, but they're doing it on the cheap. There's no, unlike the dairy farmers that will get a dairy subsidy for their every suckler, dairy cow that they'll have to cull. They don't need to compensate the sucklers. They just have to stand back and withdraw supports and starve the suckler men into submission and let them exit production. And that's why this has to stop. Rural Ireland has to stand up for itself, and the farmers in this country have to stand up for itself. And it's very heartening to see that farmers are changing. Their patience is running out, and no longer can they be taken. Can their support be taken for granted? There was a farmers' journal opinion poll recently that said that most farmers now that traditionally used to vote Fine Gael in particular, and then Fianna Fáil. Their support for the main parties can't be relied upon at the moment. And the situation has changed, and that's a good sign. It's a sign of the time. And now, in conclusion, I just say to you, Chairman Jody and Jerry, keep what you're doing. There's no doubt you're going to get support, a lot of support for farmers. But you want to get your message out there through the local media and indeed national media as well, and challenge the main farmer organisations as well that are not certainly doing enough. They're asleep at the wheel. You need to push to get your agenda implemented, and together, if we put all our shoulders to the wheel, we're going to get a result, just like you got the result in relation to ICDF. Thanks very much.